Okay, guys, I promise I hear y'all loud and clear. I understand that, quote unquote, not everybody plays in Superflex leagues, and y'all want to see some one rookie mock drafts at the same time. So I'm going to try to do my best to make everybody happy here. We are going to go through and, of course, hit a couple of these mock drafts with Superflex first, because Superflex is my preferred format, because that is what I enjoy doing. So that's what we're going to do first, to be completely honest. That's the reason. And then afterwards, at the very end of the live stream, I will also get in a one quarterback mock draft at the same time. How we are going to be doing this is very similar to how we do all of these other mock drafts, in that if you're supporting the show on Patreon, I'm going to guarantee you that you are getting into these leagues. I'm going to guarantee you that you have a spot waiting for you. All you have to do is make sure you shoot me a DM over there on Patreon, and I will get you that invite link. And then we're going to wait around possibly 3 or 4 minutes to make sure that everybody's had that opportunity from Patreon to join. And then whatever spots are left over, we will go through and we'll get those out in the general chat for people to take them out. Okay, so JN is back up here. JN says, I am not trolling with the Marquise Goodwin pick. That is all. Okay, guys, if y'all don't know, we just got done live streaming on the main fantasy football channel a redraft league for 2021. And JN decided to take not Hollywood Brown, Marquise Goodwin in like the 12th round, like in a ridiculous range. Marquise Goodwin now playing for Chicago. So if y'all can, go down to the chat, give him some crap for that real quick. Okay, so y'all are asking, where's the link? Let me send out the link for Patreon real quick, and y'all can shoot me a DM over there. And then if it does not go through and fill within the first 3 or 4 minutes, I'll send the link to join this one out in a second. Just please give me a second to make sure that everybody over there on Patreon gets a shot to get in. Okay, so now let's send that out. Okay, and let's also send this out in the Discord chat as well, so everybody understands what is going on. Okay, now let's pull up Patreon real quick. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, guys. It's hard to get these live streams going with like 6 different windows open all at once. Now, I promise you, this is going to sort itself out. This is not going to take that long. Okay, but let's jump back in here. I have no idea what I just did that. No idea what I just did in Sleeper. Okay, that is incredibly annoying. Where did the mock drafts go? Okay, give me a second, guys. I promise you, I'm going to get this sorted out. We'll get all the links over there on Patreon in 1 second. Just okay, perfect. Wait, we got it pulled back up. That was a little bit scary. Okay, so let's grab that link, send it out over there on Patreon, and then send it out in the YouTube live chat. Okay, so it looks like we have a ton of people out here wanting to take these spots, sending out all these links. It looks like what we're probably going to have to do is make this first one a Patreon only, and then the second one going through and making that one the one where we're just going to be getting YouTube subscribers in here. Okay, so Clint, yeah, I got all of y'all in here. It looks like a few of them were from the last live stream that we had. Okay, Armando, we're not going to be able to reply to that right now. Zachary, I'm really hoping that was not a DM for the last live stream. But nonetheless, it looks like this should be filled very soon. Let me just pull up the screen real quick to see if we have any spots left over that I can send in the general chat. If not, I promise y'all, I'll send the link to the next Superflex rookie mock draft in the general chat. And then at the very end, we'll get the one quarterback going in the general chat regardless. Okay, but looks like we should probably fill up just from Patreon alone on this one. Okay, Caesar sending you out that right now. And let me see if we have any questions in the general chat real quick while we wait for everybody to hop in. The sixth win says, I have a one quarterback dynasty draft next month. Show me the way. Yes, sir. And what's very exciting is if you don't have your rookie draft until next month, man, our dynasty rookie draft guide is going to be out and available at that time. I am so excited for y'all to check that out. I have been honestly working on it for way too long, to the point where I'm like, how am I still talking about these rookies? How am I still looking into these guys? At this point, I'm just kind of trying to format it. It's already over 100 pages. It's kind of like a novel of me just talking about these rookies in depth and what we are looking for these rookie prospects coming in. So I'm trying to create a much better format for y'all to actually view it rather than just a book, because I don't want y'all just reading like a quote unquote book about these rookies. I would much prefer it to be a little bit more engaging than that. But nonetheless, let me just send this out. It looks like we have 2 spots left in this mock draft. I'm going to send it in the live chat for people to take those over real quick. And then we can get this going. Let me pull this over. That way we can just share the screen and start this rookie mock. Okay, perfect. Let me pull this down. Okay, it looks like we have 2 more spots, guys. I just sent that link out in the general chat of the YouTube video for y'all to take those last 2 spots. Those have been taken. So let's get this going. Now, this is going to be a Superflex and tight end premium mock draft to start us off. Later on, we can go through and we can do that 1 quarterback league, because I know some people are going to be wanting to see that as well, because not everybody plays in Superflex, and that is completely fine. But anyway, Papa Lynch up here at the 101. And this is something that I have talked about over and over again, where if we were looking at a world where you couldn't go through and make trades in Dynasty, at that point, I think, honestly, I would just lock Trey Lance into the 101. But because his Dynasty value is so high already, I think you have to take Trevor Lawrence, even if I like Trey Lance for a Dynasty perspective a little bit more, with us not trying to build a real-life NFL team and instead trying to predict how many fantasy points these quarterbacks are going to be scoring. But no, if you take into consideration the actual value that you're going to find in your Dynasty marketplace for these quarterbacks, I think that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the selection you have to make at the 101. Probably, there's no way you're about to time out on the Trevor Lawrence selection. Even if you do, it was going to be Lawrence regardless. Okay, now, actually, Trey Lance goes off the board there. Maybe what he probably did, he's probably set his queue. Now, nonetheless, I mean, I guess he sets his queue for Trey Lance, and we are going to be taking Trevor Lawrence at the 102. After this, you're going to have a significant drop-off in tiers for those Superflex formats. I think that Trey Lance and Trevor Lawrence are far out ahead of the field compared to all these other quarterbacks, and I know a lot of people are going to be coming in here, and a lot of people are going to be going, but Mason, you're disrespecting Justin Fields. And I'm saying that, hey, the NFL told us that Trey Lance is a better prospect. Hey, Trey Lance has more rushing upside. That, hey, Trey Lance is throwing to George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel. So we go across the entire board, and everything that you look for in a quarterback prospect, Trey Lance is better than with Justin Fields, despite whatever your own personal quarterback evaluation format is. I mean, I think Trey Lance is in his own tier, to be completely honest. Okay, so Mondo, what is going on here? Are we going to see 2 timeouts in back-to-back picks? Okay, no, he does not timeout. He takes Justin Fields. I know a lot of people are going to have Justin Fields over Trey Lance. I am telling y'all, I very rarely do I say something with 100% conviction, because I understand that I am an idiot and I am wrong with things all the time. But you cannot take Justin Fields over Trey Lance. And that is it. I'm not going to talk about it for the rest of the stream. I'm not going to talk about it for the rest of the video. I just want to make sure that everybody watching these videos is on board with this and nobody messes up their own Dynasty drafts. Now, you have Kyle Pitts and Najee Harris going off here. Now, I will say, because this is a tight end premium format, I'm not going to scream at anyone for taking Kyle Pitts over Najee Harris. If it was not tight end premium, I think that Kyle Pitts would have to be behind a projected 3-down rookie running back. I mean, JN has to be laughing here that he gets Najee Harris at the 105, a running back that should project to see 300 touches his rookie season. We know historically, if you look at that mold, those players, their dynasty value skyrockets from one season to their second. So yeah, Najee Harris at the 105, that is a fantastic pick. Now, Jamar Chase at the 106, I really do not like the Jamar Chase selection. I'm just going to come out and say it. I think at this point, you need to go with either Zach Wilson or Travis Etienne. Now, Travis Etienne falling all the way down to the 109, possibly beyond that. Now, we do have an in-depth video of Travis Etienne coming out tomorrow where I'm saying, please do not overthink it. Please look historically what happens with running backs that look like Travis Etienne. Look at just nonstop success, 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 success. Travis Etienne at the 109, if you make that investment this year, I promise you 12 months from now, you're going to be incredibly happy with yourself. Okay, So Papa Lynch saying he set the queue for the first pick. So that was not an auto of Trey Lance. He just set the queue and it ended up running down and getting Lance himself. Now, JN, excited about getting Najee Harris in the 105. Of course, man, you have to be excited about that. And then Mike Fish says, tried taking your advice, Mason, and trading up to the 108 in my league. No one would budge. It would have to be a massive overpay. Man, that sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. And y'all know that I've been advising a lot of people before your rookie drafts. If you were selecting anywhere, just say with the 110, the 111, the 112, if you're in that range where you're going to be looking at those wide receiver 2 tiers, like a guy like Devonta Smith, Elijah Moore, Jalen Waddle, Rashad Bateman, Terrace Marshall, Rondale Moore, I mean, pretty much all those wide receivers don't necessarily stand out from the other. And also you have guys like Trey Sermon, you have Mac Jones, just that one large tier. If you're at the 110, if you're at the 111, I would rather you not just be picking the favorite guy out of that tier. I'd rather you try to be maximizing your dynasty value by either trading back within the tier and picking up some future assets, or by trying to quote unquote overpay just a little bit to make sure you're moving up from the 110, the 111, the 112 to get to the 108 or the 109, because there you're going to be seeing a massive difference in the player that you're going to be selecting, and that the difference between Travis Etienne and Elijah Moore is significant if you're going to be talking about what their dynasty value should be just, I mean, honestly, 3 months from now. Okay, Matthew says Jay Davis is a traitor to the Dolphins by going with the Jet in Elijah Moore over Jalen Waddle. Yeah, Jay Davis, man. Hopefully there are no other fans of Miami out here to be looking at that pick. Now, here at the 202, we are going to be doing something that I'm not too excited about doing, but anytime you can take a mid to early first-round rookie quarterback that goes in the NFL draft here at the 202, that is going to be something that we look to do. We are going to be taking Mac Jones here. Now, the reason I don't love taking Mac Jones, the reason that we are lower on him than consensus going into the NFL draft, is simply because, I mean, this is a quarterback that doesn't possess that elite rushing upside to eventually be someone that you can project as not even an Lamar Jackson, but just someone like a Joe Burrow, someone that can come through and pick up 300 rushing yards in the season. Mac Jones is never going to be that player, but nonetheless, a starting quarterback here in the early second is going to be something that you can get excited about your investment into. And now, at this point of the draft, I think there are 3 clear players left in this tier, and this is why I'm saying that in the second round, there's a massive tier drop after the 205. And the next 3 players you're going to be seeing after Mac Jones are Rashad Bateman, Trey Sermon, and Terrace Marshall. You already have Rashad Bateman going off the board here at the 203. So now between Trey Sermon and Terrace Marshall, I don't necessarily know what order they are going to be going, but I can almost guarantee that those are going to be the next 2 players that you see. So Cesar Jose comes back on to make his pick. Let's see where he decides to go. Now, Cesar Jose comes in and says he wanted Mac Jones at the 204, applauds the pick. Yes, sir. I mean, I think at the early second round, that's kind of a range where you go, it doesn't really matter too much what we thought about Mac Jones pre-draft. I mean, he is someone that you can expect to be a starting quarterback for at the very minimum a year, and that's going to be worth an early second round pick in Superflex, especially if he has the upside to be able to maintain a starting job longer than that. Okay, so now let's go through, and Kadarius Toney at the 205. Now, that is something that you do not see every day. Jay, man, you have to let me know your thoughts on Kadarius Toney. I mean, I was thinking that was going to be an easy Terrace Marshall pick, to be completely honest. But I like the boldness. I like you going with the first round drafted wide receiver in Kadarius Toney at the 205 over Terrace Marshall by me saying I like it. I mean, I like to see it in a mock draft. Of course, I would never do that in a real league just because I think if you look at the wide receiver profiles, while Kadarius Toney, yes, he can help his NFL offense. He can be that dynamic player that plays on special teams. He has the speed to stretch the field. I think if we were talking about players that profile to be decent in fantasy, I think Terrace Marshall's the guy that can profile to see a lot more volume. Now here, this is where you get a drop in tiers, and honestly, with these next 3 or 4 picks, I think you can kind of go anywhere, but you see Pat Freiermuth going off the board. Honestly, not a bad pick in the slightest, especially in the tight end premium format. Now you understand that you're not going to be expecting any rookie tight end production, especially on a team that has Eric Ebron, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Najee Harris, but nonetheless, in the long term, you only have Juju on that 1-year deal. You have Deontay Johnson, not necessarily tied up for just say 3 seasons, and also Eric Ebron most likely going to be gone in 2021. So when you're not expecting rookie tight end production anyway, that's not going to be a very bad pick. Now, JN says, I was going to go Sermon, but Homeboy waited for you to name drop players. Now, I do not think that's what happened at all. Let me know why you are going with Kadarius Toney over Terrace Marshall, just because that's not something I really have seen in any real-life Dynasty formats. So I'd just be interested in your thoughts there. Okay, also, I see that we have over 20 likes in the live stream. Thank you so much, guys, for everybody who's decided to go down there and drop a like on the stream. I mean, it helps us out tremendously. We have been one of the fastest growing fantasy channels over the past, I want to say, 3 months now. And that's just because y'all show a ridiculous amount of support for this channel. If it's anywhere from Patreon, anywhere to just dropping likes, being subscribed, coming out to those premieres and those live streams. So I owe y'all a massive, massive thank you. But now we are going to be back up on the clock, and there is a clear player that I'm going to want if he still is available by the time we get up. Now, Nico Collins, one of the guys that we like targeting in this range, does go off the 212. But here we are going to be getting our guy in Chuba Hubbard. Now, if you go through and you look at Chuba Hubbard, I understand a lot of people are going to be looking at him as a running back going, but Mason, you're never going to be able to start him, but blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, guys, the majority of the players in the third round, you're not going to be expecting you to be able to start them the majority of the time anyway. I mean, the historical hit rates on these players are going to be a lot lower than most people expect. What I want is I want a player that we can have on our taxi squad, and I don't want to have to be guessing with the wide receiver, just say like Tylan Wallace, a player that I think is going to be a roster clogger, and even when he does get the opportunity, I don't know if I can put him in my starting lineup or not. Same thing here with Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer, a little bit more exciting because Mike Williams is most likely going to be gone next year. But with those guys, I mean, what you're going to be seeing is you're going to be seeing the fact that even if they can be starters on their NFL offenses, which is not necessarily guaranteed, you're not going to be able to just lock them in to being a starter on your fantasy team. And in the case of Chuba Hubbard, if we ever saw a Christian McCaffrey injury, I think it would be safe to project, with the lack of depth that you have on that roster, that Chuba Hubbard was going to be stepping into a role, stepping into an amount of opportunity that you would feel confident in starting him in fantasy. So even if you only get 4 starts out of Chuba Hubbard and you only get 4 weeks of running back 2 production or better, I think if you get that rookie in the 3rd round and that's what you get his rookie season, I mean, I am perfectly fine with that. So yeah, Chuba Hubbard, I actually really like him as a pick in the 3rd round. I do not mind the landing spot of Carolina whatsoever. Okay, Charles coming out says, where do you think Rhamondre Stevenson fits into the running back field? Okay, I'm sorry I can't pronounce names. Y'all know I'm very bad about that. Stevenson, running back coming out of Oklahoma, going over to New England. And what's interesting here is now in New England, you have 3 guys that all kind of profile to be, I don't want to say the same, but nobody really stands out from the pack. And I will say Stevenson, in my opinion, is going to be the better bet between Damian Harris and Stevenson. And the reason for this is while I really liked Damian Harris last offseason at the discount you were getting him with a 3rd round rookie pick, what we had to understand is we had to understand the reason we were going and we were trying to target him is because we viewed him as a player that had the upside to be a 3-down running back. We viewed him as someone that could handle the work between the tackles, also someone that could get targeted out of the backfield, where when he did get the opportunity to start for New England in 2020, I was very much disappointed. And I was not disappointed with his play himself. I was more so disappointed in the fact that you actually had just Bill Belichick and this overall offense going through and just pigeonholing him into that Sony Michel role where he was not getting the passing down work. Now with Stevenson, we don't necessarily know how Bill Belichick plans to use him, but he does get decent NFL draft capital going in the 3rd round. So I think, at this point in the draft, he would be a fine pick. At the 309, the 310, the 311, the 3012. I would honestly like Stevenson more than a player like Kenneth Gainwell, where Kenneth Gainwell, I had this argument with someone on Patreon yesterday, where with Gainwell, what are you expecting? Compare Gainwell to Stevenson and to Chuba Hubbard. Just say Chuba Hubbard, it's an easy comparison. And my argument is with Gainwell, you're never going to be able to start him unless Miles Sanders gets injured. And at that point, we're going, okay, if we're evaluating these rookie handcuff running backs, we need to be trying to understand what kind of upside that they actually have if they do manage to have that starting job. And in the case of Gainwell, what does that upside actually look like? He's going to be a pass catching running back, not even going to be someone that is going to be seeing usage on all 3 downs. So if you're drafting handcuff running backs, you need to make sure you understand the difference between what you're going to be expecting with the floor baseline of production as well as the ceiling. Okay. But nonetheless, I'm not going to waste too much time here. We already got in a ton of people from Patreon, so I will go over to Patreon real quick for this next mock draft and just send out a quick link for anybody who has DM'd us there. And as soon as I send out the link there, I'm going to be sending it in the general chat as well, just so we can make sure that we are getting as many of these going off the board as possible. Now, we picked at the 102 there. Now let's go over to the 109, because the 109 is a very easy draft pick. You really don't have to think too much, and I really want y'all to be getting the reps in here. I've already had about 12 rookie drafts, so we don't necessarily need to have any more practice at this point, especially if you throw in all the mock drafts we've done. We've probably done 30 of these so far this offseason, so I'd rather y'all try to get a little bit more comfortable with the difficult positions. Then the difficult positions are going to be within the top 9 picks, where you're having to choose between the tier and beyond it when you're in that wide receiver 2 tier. Okay, so now let's go through and let's double out these links. Okay, there we go. And I will send that in the live chat as well. Okay, so let's go through, and Matthew's saying sometimes YouTube shows you at 4,500 subscribers and sometimes it shows at 22,000. Very confusing. Man, no, it's just 2 separate channels. So we have a Dynasty fantasy football channel where we keep that just completely separate from the main fantasy football channel, because I know a lot of people over there on the main channel, they don't care about Dynasty. They really just want to focus in on regular redraft fantasy. Now, I kind of started this as a side passion just because the main channel actually started as a Dynasty channel about 3 years ago, and I really enjoy Dynasty. That is my passion, and that main channel kind of blew up during redraft season. I was like, well, crap, looks like this is going to have to be a redraft channel, and then I was like, let's just start a new Dynasty one just because I love it. And all of a sudden, Dynasty fantasy football kind of blew up. And now all of a sudden, you're finding all of these other quote unquote YouTubers, guys that really don't know how to play Dynasty. And you can tell if you just listen to their analysis at all that they just started playing Dynasty this offseason. Now they're all jumping in on the trend, but nonetheless, I mean, Dynasty is our true passion, and we're going to be getting as many of these going as possible. Now let's pull this up real quick. Let's get our second draft going. Now here we're going to be picking out of the 109. Now Kyle coming in, Trey Lance. This is back-to-back draft picks. I mean, back-to-back drafts where we see Trey Lance go at the 101. Like I said, guys, I mean, in a mock draft, it's all fun and games. If we were talking about a pure vacuum, I'm fine taking Trey Lance at the 101. I think if you're playing in a league where you literally can't make a single trade there, yeah, I'm drafting Trey Lance at the 101. But if you're talking about a regular Dynasty league there, you have to go Trevor Lawrence just because the Dynasty value he has, just because you understand when you draft Trevor Lawrence, I mean, that is automatically going to be an asset that is so insulated on your roster that it's really never going to be worth less than, say, a top 2-round startup pick 12 months from now. Okay, Mob coming in says, congrats on hitting over 300 people on Patreon. Yes, sir. No, thank you so much. And I want to give a massive thank you for everybody who's decided to support the show on Patreon. I will get out that link real quick. But ever since we announced that we were going to be taking this full time, I mean, the amount of people that we've had supporting the show on Patreon has been absolutely absurd. I mean, it's to a point where I'm looking at it, I'm going, okay, how do this many people enjoy the channel this much? I mean, it is crazy if you go through and you just look at the ratio of other channels with how big they are with what their audience is doing to support that creator. I mean, y'all support me more than any other channel has their audience supporting them. So, I mean, it's 100% on y'all. I just want to give y'all a massive, massive thank you. I understand that it's nothing that I do, and it's just everybody watching these videos really appreciating the work that I put in, and just I mean, truly, I don't want to say changing my life, but close to it, making my life a lot less stressful and making my life a lot easier, where I can feel confident in just going through and chasing my dreams. Okay. But I'm sorry I had to pause that draft real quick, guys. I just realized that it was in snake order instead of linear order, and I know that a lot of people would have been screaming at me if we did not get that fixed. Okay, so now let's, Matt is saying Lawrence is going to get murdered behind that offensive line. I understand, guys. He is playing in the same division as the Indianapolis Colts. He's playing in the same division as the Tennessee Titans. But hey, at least he has Houston. At least he gets 2 solid games at Houston every single season. 2 games where he should just completely smash. Okay, also, I see that we are up there close to 40 likes on the stream. Thank you so much, guys, for everybody who's decided to go down there and drop that like. Now, here, I think at the 209, this is going to be a spot where we actually have to make a difficult decision. Now, you actually have Mac Jones falling further than where we took him in the last mock draft. Here he goes at the 203. And I want to point out real quick, I understand that a lot of people can't support the show on Patreon, and that's completely fine. I know a lot of people are helping me out and going through and completing these rookie mock drafts for me. And because of that, all the ADP that we collect from these rookie mock drafts will be found for free over there on Patreon. Most of the stuff over there on Patreon, like my Dynasty rookie draft guide that's coming out, like my Dynasty rookie rankings that are already published, like all our Dynasty leagues, that's all behind the paywall, but the actual ADP itself is going to be completely free for anybody just going over there. It's just that I don't have a website, so it's easier for me to post the ADP over there where, I mean, most people are already checking that website out regardless. Okay, Julian coming in says Travis Etienne or Javonte Williams first. Here you have to be going with Travis Etienne. I mean, I went through and yesterday recorded a Travis Etienne video that should be uploaded tomorrow morning. And I mean, honestly, I showed it to my girlfriend, even though she doesn't know who Travis Etienne is, probably doesn't know who Tom Brady is. And I just was saying, I killed this video. This is the best video I probably have ever made on the channel. I'm so excited for y'all to check out the Travis Etienne video tomorrow. But I'll try to upload it very early in the morning. It's just going to depend on what time I can get the main fantasy football video up because I don't want them to be too close together. Okay, but Kadarius Toney going off the 206, it looks like Kadarius Toney maybe is slowly rising in our ADP. I mean, if you look at where he was going in our last rookie mock drafts, Kadarius Toney was someone that was a late second round pick. And another thing that I'm going to be doing with these mock drafts and with the ADP that we do collect from them is I will be going through and I will be making sure that we track the risers and the fallers that we have. And I can maybe give some explanations on why I think that may be happening. But now we are up here at the 209. And I think the selection that we have to make here is I think we are going to be having to go with Amari Rodgers. And I just wrote Amari Rodgers rookie profile for our draft guide that is coming out at the end of the month, but I wrote it last week. And honestly, Amari Rodgers, a player that doesn't profile fantastic coming into the NFL, but the situation is going to be so good in that he gets to line up across from Devontae Adams. If you have Aaron Rodgers there, you should expect the overall efficiency of the offense to be kind of sky high. So yeah, Amari Rodgers, I mean, he's one of those classic examples of a player that the profile isn't great, but the overall situation is going to be pumping him up draft boards. I think we're fine taking him at the 209, something I'm not excited about. But like I said, guys, I mean, after that 205, you see a massive tier drop off, and pretty much all of these players in this range are in a similar range. So Nash is over here popping up his name, going auto. Jansen storming in the ATX. Yes, sir. I hear it out of my window right now. I hope that y'all do not hear it on this microphone. This microphone should be a lot better than our old one where you don't hear what's going on in the room. You don't hear really any of that outside noise, but let me know if y'all can hear the storm outside. Hopefully my girlfriend just took the dog out. That way that dog isn't having to get soaked on a walk with me later today, but we will see. Darren coming in says, should I trade away Jalen Waddle for Noah Fant? 14-team Superflex Dynasty League. Yes, sir, especially in a 14-team league, because in a 14-team league, we understand that the tight end position is going to be a little bit harder to come by. And given the fact that wide receiver is so deep and what we have already seen from Noah Fant in his first 2 years at the NFL level, I'm completely fine trading away Jalen Waddle for Noah Fant, and I would actually really like that trade. And this is why back in 2019, I wasn't heavily targeting TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant in rookie drafts because I told myself, I went, hey, these players aren't going to produce right away. These players are probably not going to see a massive spike in value because they're not going to produce right away. And we can be trading for them at a discount or at the same price 2 years from now, right before their production. Similar to Kyle Pitts. I don't know if you've heard about him, but nonetheless, I mean, yeah, I'm completely fine going out there and paying that price to go and get Noah Fant. Okay, now we are up here. And to be honest, there are a couple different things that we can do. And I think that what I want to do, I don't love. We're going to be going with Hunter Long. This is something that I definitely need to think about a little bit more. But given the fact that this is a tight end premium format, if this was a non-tight end premium format, there I think you could try to convince yourself into going with a guy like Tutu Atwell. But no, because it's tight end premium, we are going to be going with the tight end that was drafted third in this year's NFL draft in Hunter Long for the Miami Dolphins. Okay, so now, guys, for this next draft, I'll be going through and just, if you want to hop in this draft and you're supporting the show over there on Patreon, make sure you go shoot me a DM ASAP. I'll give everybody on Patreon about a minute to get me those DMs, and I'll send those links out to you right away. That way you can get a guaranteed spot. And then after that, I'll go through and I'll send the next mock draft in the live chat for everybody else to take up the rest of the spots, because usually over there on Patreon, we only get about 6 or 7 people in, and then we can have the other 5 or 6 coming from the general chat. But JN, of course, going with Sam Ehlinger to finish out the draft. I mean, Sam Ehlinger, if you want to take him at the 311, I'm not going to fight you too much on that one. Matt saying, I got Hunter Long at the 508 in a PPR format. Man, Hunter Long at the 508, that is fantastic. I know he's the tight end that wasn't on the radar coming into the NFL draft, but you can't ignore the round 3 NFL draft capital. I mean that just kind of seems silly in my opinion. Okay, so real quick, let's clear this board. Let's start a new one. Okay, so let's get a new mock draft going. Okay, so we've drafted from the 102. We drafted from the 109. Here, let's just go. We'll go 106. We'll just go in the middle of the draft. And let me grab this link, run over and send it to everybody on Patreon real quick that has shot us a DM. Okay, sending these out. And then let me give 15 seconds more for anybody else over there on Patreon to send me that DM. That way they can get their guaranteed spot. Then I'll send it in the live chat for everybody else to come through and join. And this is going to be our last Superflex tight end premium format. And then afterwards, we're going to be doing one quarterback mock draft, just because I understand there are people in this audience that don't play in Superflex. They play in one quarterback leagues drafts. So I want to make sure that we are trying to get stuff that helps everyone. Okay. Deadpool's coming out, says, I traded Chase for Waddle, Boyd, a 2022 first, third, and fourth. Hope I did okay. Okay, so honestly, we can kind of throw... Okay, so essentially you traded Chase for Waddle, a first, and a second, I want to say. If you could go through and if you could flip Tyler Boyd and the fourth for a second, I would really like that trade, because then you would essentially be trading Jamar Chase for Jalen Waddle in an entire 2022 draft. So yeah, I like that trade. I really hate rostering Tyler Boyd at this point, because he's the exact opposite of a player that I want to be targeting, someone that does have a high floor but a low ceiling. So if you can go through and you can just say flip Tyler Boyd for that second round pick, I would really like that trade. Okay, but let me send this out in the general chat real quick. Dylan saying 14 team 0.5 PPR got offered Travis Etienne for Miles Sanders. Man, take Travis Etienne and run. I promise you. Please do that ASAP. Okay, now let's send that link out in the general chat real quick for other people to come in. And then as soon as that gets filled, which should probably be 10 seconds, I'd imagine, we can go and we can make sure we get this live. Okay, it looks like it is filling. So let's just actually prepare to switch over the screen. Okay, keep in mind, guys, this is going to be our last Superflex tight end premium draft. We have one more spot. I'm sure it'll be taken in about 5 seconds. So let's do. Okay, JN says he's going to stay out of this one. Let someone else in. Okay, thank you, my dude. Of course, feel free to join as many as you want. I promise you, you're not going to be upsetting anyone. But Zeke Quan up here with the 101, he decides to take Trevor Lawrence, which, as crazy as it sounds, the first time we have seen that happen today. Then Trey Lance there at the 102. This is what I love to see. I love to see Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, 101, 102. It's the correct thing to do. It's the correct way to play your 2021 rookie drafts. I promise you, and y'all know I'm an idiot, and I admit to being an idiot, and I'm wrong all the time. But no, I think this is one of the scenarios where it's an easy decision, to be honest. Okay, now here, given the fact that it is tight end premium, and honestly, even if it wasn't tight end premium, with how replaceable the wide receiver position is in fantasy, we are going to be going with Kyle Pitts at the 106. Now, of course, I mean, Kyle Pitts, someone that I've been calling massively overvalued whenever you see him going at the 102, the 103, and I'm saying, okay, that is disgusting. You need to be making sure you're taking Trey Lance. You need to be making sure you're taking Najee Harris over Kyle Pitts. But Kyle Pitts over Jamar Chase is going to be something that I do, honestly, 9 times out of 10. The only decision point that I would really have here is if it was not a tight end premium format, would you go with Kyle Pitts or Zach Wilson, given the fact that Zach Wilson does have that incredibly high floor with the amount of guaranteed years that he is going to have as the starting quarterback for the New York Jets. But yeah, I mean, in the tight end premium format, Kyle Pitts at the 106, I am fine with. So let me just get some water real quick so I don't throw up. Okay, so Bill Cry saying J.K. Dobbins or Travis Etienne. There, man, you got to go J.K. Dobbins. What we saw is rookie season, the offense he projects to be in. Yeah, you're taking J.K. Dobbins there, and you're not really thinking about it. Okay, Zach Wilson at the 109, great value. Then Devontae Smith at the 110. It looks like Smith is honestly kind of the consensus 110 at this point. Very rarely do I see Smith ever going beyond that. And to go along with this, sometimes I actually see Smith creeping up into the 108, the 109 in my real Dynasty rookie drafts. So that is going to be notable. But crap here. Let me pause this draft real quick. Let me, guys, I am so sorry about this. I have no idea why Sleeper doesn't fix this. I have no idea why. Okay, there we go. I apologize about that, my dudes. I don't know why every single time we have to. I should probably just remember to do it regardless, yet I am not smart, and we have already discussed that. Okay. So Zequan back up here. And this is very standard. I mean, all these draft boards are kind of looking the same. I mean, once you get past the 205, that's where really you see things look a little bit different. But that's a normal thing for a normal season. I mean, normally you see the draft boards at the very top. You kind of come to a consensus. And then beyond that, that is where you get some deviation just because it's not too hard to go, quote unquote, off the board and go get your guy. Just say if you're at the 210, but if you're at the 104 and you're going to do that, then, I mean, you're risking a lot of dynasty value. Okay, so Aiden coming out says, thoughts on my rookie draft. I'm in a win now, Superflex, tight end premium, PPR, 12-person, Fields, Gainwell, Eskridge, and Hunter Long. Man, you got to let me know what picks you took those guys at. I mean, if you took them at just say the 101, the 108, like it's going to be completely different. So please, Aiden, let me know where you took those rookies if you want me to give you my honest opinion on it, because I could sit here and I can say bravo, but it really doesn't mean anything unless I know the price. Okay, Christian says, should I trade Antonio Gibson for Trey Lance? Yes. I know a lot of people are going to hate me saying that, but Trey Lance has such a high floor. We have seen time and time again that if you get the top 3 overall pick in the NFL draft, you are guaranteed 4 years as the starting quarterback. Trey Lance also has that elite ceiling and even a higher floor given his rushing production. So yeah, man, you're going to go Trey Lance there. Okay, now at the 206, we kind of get a blessing here because Kadarius Toney sneaks up to the 203. We are going to be taking Terrace Marshall. We're not going to be thinking about this. I mean, Terrace Marshall, a wide receiver that I thought was going to go in the first round of the NFL draft, given the fact that you look at his production profile at LSU with his size and his athleticism. I mean, Terrace Marshall, a wide receiver that I love at this price, to be honest. Okay, so now let's slide this over. Pat going off the 207, Michael Carter at the 208. And let me know, guys, if y'all, because to be completely honest, I don't really watch other videos. I don't really watch other fantasy football videos. I listen to some fantasy football podcasts because there are some guys that actually have like podcasts on iTunes that I really respect, and I think they know what they're going on. But a lot of the stuff on YouTube I kind of think is garbage. So I don't consume that much YouTube fantasy football content. Let me know if y'all are watching like mock drafts and stuff, if these flock mock drafts look drastically different than what you're finding on other channels, because I would imagine on other channels, you're actually seeing a player like Michael Carter Jr. go up there and be not necessarily a late first, but at the very minimum, be an early second in the same tier of a Trey Sermon or Rashad Bateman and a guy like Mac Jones. But please let me know what y'all are seeing across. Okay, so now let's go through, and Aiden says 104 for Justin Fields. To be honest, I don't love Justin Fields at the 104. I mean, actually, I'll say that Justin Fields at the 104 is completely fair. If you had Lawrence, Lance, and Najee Harris all off the board, I am fine with someone going with Justin Fields at the 104 over Zach Wilson. While Zach Wilson definitely has the higher floor, Justin Fields has the higher ceiling due to his rushing capabilities. Then Kenneth Gainwell at the 209. Honestly, not a massive. I hate the Kenneth Gainwell pick at the 209, to be completely honest, because at the 209 there, if you're taking Kenneth Gainwell, let me know if y'all think I'm wrong in this assumption in the general chat or the comment section. But Kenneth Gainwell, in my opinion, is just going to be a handcuff running back. I mean, if you were drafting Kenneth Gainwell to think that you were going to be able to start him some weeks that Miles Sanders is active, I think that you are entirely wrong in that assumption. I think that Kenneth Gainwell slides in and he is Boston Scott, and there's no way you were starting Boston Scott on his own in 2020. So because of that, we're going, okay, what running backs, if they're going to be handcuffs, have the most upside if they ever get the starting opportunity in their respective NFL offenses? And I think the better answer there is Chuba Hubbard over Kenneth Gainwell. Now, I would love to know your opinion because, like I said, I have a monkey brain. Like I said, I have a lizard brain. I mean, probably combined with a monkey brain, but I just don't like Kenneth Gainwell at the 209. Now, Eskridge, the 304. Another situation. If it's a Superflex league, honestly, I don't like that, honestly, either. Just because there you would have had opportunity of maybe drafting a Kellen Mond, maybe going and getting a Chuba Hubbard over Dwayne Eskridge, a fifth-year player that was never that productive in a very bad conference. And I understand he played defensive back. I understand he has his reasons. He has legitimate reasons that he was not that productive, but still, nonetheless, I think at the 304, you can't love Dwayne Eskridge. It's a fair price, but I'm not in love with it. And then at the 409, Hunter Long, I really like the Hunter Long price at the 409. I will say that. Okay, so now we are up here, and I think we kind of have an easy decision at this point. I think it kind of comes down to Tutu Atwell and Josh Palmer, and I think we go with Josh Palmer given the fact that we should see that depth chart open up in 2021 with Mike Williams no longer under contract for the Los Angeles Chargers. So we're going to be taking Josh Palmer there at the 306. I think he's a little bit less, he has a little bit of a smaller chance of actually being like a roster clogger wide receiver that we really want to be avoiding. Okay, Matt's saying he thinks a sleeper plays a huge part in Dynasty's growth. Man, I am right there with you. I think that YouTube and Sleeper has played a massive part in the growth that we have seen with Dynasty. I mean, people that run Dynasty fantasy football sites need to be writing checks to the people on YouTube. Just say guys like the channel Fantasy Pros, guys like really the fantasy footballers, all of those people that have 100,000 subscribers that all of a sudden made those redraft subscribers now consume Dynasty content. All those Dynasty websites, they should be writing checks. I mean, Dynasty has grown so much. Okay, so now Hunter Long, Stevenson going off right here. I mean, completely fair picks. Trimble, let me know what y'all think of Trimble. He's been a player that I really have not come to a point where I've ever drafted him this year, but maybe I'm overlooking him. Please let me know if y'all think I'm missing something. Kenneth Gainwell at the 311. Like here, I mean, Kenneth Gainwell, if you were going to take him really in any of this third round range after Kellen Mond, I'd be completely fine with it. But like what we were saying earlier at the 209, that's simply too early for Kenneth Gainwell. Okay, Elijah Mitchell there to round out the draft. Really like that pick of Elijah Mitchell. But now let's end this, and we are going to be going with a 1 quarterback mock draft. So let's pull that up. This is not going to be tight end premium either. This is just going to be a 1 quarterback mock draft. I will get a link just 15 seconds for anybody on Patreon. If you want in this mock draft and you want a guaranteed spot, shoot me a DM on Patreon ASAP. Like literally 15 seconds, and I'll send that over. Now, let me make sure this is not going to be a snake mock draft. Let's make sure this is a linear before we start anything. Okay, so this is set to a snake. Let's label it 1 QB so nobody makes the mistake. And yeah, let's grab this link, run over and send it to people on Patreon, then just send it in the general chat to get people in here ASAP. Okay. Okay, Daniel sending it in. Okay. And yeah, we just sent that link out to like 2 people on Patreon. So now I can go through and I'm just going to send it in the chat. That way we get this filled. We've been live streaming for pretty much like 2.5 hours now, if you include the main fantasy football channel. But yeah, let's send that out. Kevin saying the footballers are the OGs, but they are old farts. Mason will be taken over soon enough. They are OGs in redraft fantasy football, but I'm telling you guys, a lot of people that played redraft fantasy football and exclusively did that, they are all kind of just chasing Dynasty right now. And a lot of these guys, they've never played Dynasty, to be completely honest with you. I mean, they've never played Dynasty. They're seeing that Dynasty is getting a ton of traffic. They're going, crap, how do I make fantasy football content in the offseason? Well, let's become a Dynasty fantasy football analyst, even though a lot of people that have been, I will confidently say that if you're watching this live stream and you've been playing Dynasty fantasy football for just say the past 3-4 years and you've been playing in at the minimum of 5 leagues, you are most likely a significant better Dynasty fantasy football player than 90% of people making YouTube videos. And I say that with full confidence. I know I play with a lot of people over there on Patreon that have a lot of experience playing Dynasty, and I can just naturally see right away with the prototypes of players that they're targeting, with their roster construction, and not necessarily focusing in on the actual player evaluation, but more so how you play the game of Dynasty Fantasy Football. I mean, you can tell the people who have been here for a very long time. You can tell the people also by how they talk about the game. Okay. But anyway, let's send this out ASAP. Let's get this draft going. Okay, this is a 1 quarterback mock draft. And here, Ja'Marr Chase going off the board with the 101. Najee Harris at the 102. Travis Etienne, the 103. Oh my gosh. So this is very standard at this point. Besides Ja'Marr Chase, the 101, I can't get behind that. I mean, with how replaceable the wide receiver position is, and this is a great point, honestly, in trying to identify the people who kind of been playing Dynasty for a very long time, the people who really understand what you want to be looking for in Dynasty. I mean, the guys that are pumping up Ja'Marr Chase as the 101, I will say, while yes, you could make the argument that Ja'Marr Chase outside of Kyle Pitts is the best prospect in this year's NFL draft. You can make the argument that he's the best wide receiver prospect by a long shot, and he is going to have one of the best NFL careers. Well, with all that being said, that can all be true. It doesn't mean Ja'Marr Chase is worth the 101, because you have to understand in Dynasty how replaceable the wide receiver position is compared to those 3 down running backs on their rookie contracts. And this is something we talk about all the time. In understanding the hit rates at these running back position, especially a player drafted in the first round, is going to be significantly higher, even compared to a wide receiver prospect as good as Ja'Marr Chase. Okay, so now we are getting this going. And also, guys, y'all know I love Trey Lance. And I will admit that I have not played in a 1 quarterback Dynasty league in about 2 or 3 years now. I switched over to exclusively Superflex about 2 or 3 years ago. I don't remember the exact season. But, I mean, I would have never been drafting a quarterback that early in a rookie draft. I think that the fair price for these stud quarterbacks in a Trey Lance or Trevor Lawrence is after you have that tier 2 player off the board, after you have the Rondale Moore, the Elijah Moore, the Trey Sermon. Now, like I said, I do not have enough 1 quarterback experience at this point with how the markets currently are, just because I'm not playing in any 1 quarterback leagues right now because I don't enjoy them, to say that with outright confidence. So, yes, I am fine if people in the general chat want to come in and tell me that I'm wrong, and that if you have that quarterback that can project to be a mid QB1, you would rather have that player than someone like a Trey Sermon who has the upside to be a high-end running back too. So please let me know what y'all are thinking in the general chat, because that is not something that I am fully convicted with. Okay. Mike is saying Aaron Jones for CeeDee Lamb in the 106 in a 1 quarterback league. Man, I would possibly rather have CeeDee Lamb than Aaron Jones in Dynasty. Take that and run. Yes, go get CeeDee Lamb in the 106 and do not think twice about it. Okay, so Bry Guy saying, I have DJ Moore and Denzel Mims in a Dynasty league. Should I be targeting Elijah Moore and Terrace Marshall in rookie drafts, or just stay away from the players on the same team? What do you think? Man, getting correlation in your lineup is never a bad thing. I mean, what I would like is, say you have a player like Denzel Mims and you stack him with Elijah Moore, might as well double dip and make sure you're getting Zach Wilson there, because essentially at that point, you're already making the bet on your roster that Zach Wilson is going to come in and he's going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. And if you're already making that bet, might as well triple down on that bet. When in Dynasty, you want to make sure you're polarizing your team as either a very strong contending team or a team that's going to be very bad and nowhere in the middle. So if you're going to be making those stacks, might as well go through and complete them at the same time. But now we are up here and we are looking at a decision at the 206. And I think we're going to make a boring pick, a pick that we made in either the last mock draft or the one before that. But we're going to be going with Amari Rodgers here, unless I'm missing someone on the board. And I don't think I am. I could be. Nonetheless, I think it comes down to Amari Rodgers or Chuba Hubbard for us, but we are going to be going with Rodgers. Matt says, a lot of experienced Dynasty players skipped out on the 2020 class because of quote-unquote hit rates. I loaded up and got 100% hit rate. Laughed my ass off. Yeah, man, that's what I made that video earlier this year, talking about a lot of people coming through and not necessarily understanding the hit rate of these rookies and how you can utilize it with your roster advantage, and why you want to be loading up on rookie draft picks. I mean, because even if the hit rate is lower than, just say, someone like Cooper Kupp that you're going to be drafting, when they do hit, if you're talking about trying to identify a player that can skyrocket in Dynasty value, I mean, it's very hard to find a player outside of a rookie that can do just that. Okay, so now let's go through. And Naveen says, should I be trading away Odell Beckham Jr. for Rondale Moore and a 3rd-round rookie pick? Oh my gosh, that is a tough question to answer. I'm going to be completely honest with that. I am just going to sit this one out as I am sitting in front of an Odell Beckham Jr. rookie jersey, so it's going to be hard for me to give my unbiased take on that. I really have a hard time answering any question regarding Odell Beckham Jr. or Juju Smith-Schuster and trying to keep my head completely clear. So I think y'all answer that question in the chat. I think I have to stay away. Okay, let's go. Michael says, Adams, Darnold, and a 4th rounder for Antonio Gibson, Brandon Ayuk, and the 16th overall pick. Which side? Man, I would take Antonio Gibson and Brandon Ayuk, and I would not think twice about it, to be completely honest. I mean, like I said, what you need to be doing is you need to be getting those running backs that are 3-down guys still on their rookie contracts. Literally, there's nothing more valuable in Dynasty, and you're stacking it with Brandon Ayuk to go along with that to make up for the value loss that you're losing from Devontae Adams. So yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Please do that 10 out of 10 times. Okay, the Pre-Funk podcast says, would you take Elijah Moore over Trey Sermon with the 110? It's really going to come down to your roster construction. I do think that they are neck and neck if you're talking about their long-term outlook. Maybe Elijah Moore has a higher floor with a lower ceiling, but Trey Sermon has that higher ceiling with the lower floor. This is what we talked about in our in-depth video on Trey Sermon and why I said I was specifically targeting him in those formats where you had to make sure you were trying to optimize your roster for those players that were a little bit more risky, but those players that did have the upside to be larger impacts in your starting lineup, leagues that have incredibly small starting lineups, or leagues that were either 8 or 10-man leagues compared to 12-man or 14-man leagues. So that tier where you're seeing a Trey Sermon and an Elijah Moore, it'd be nice if I could come out and just tell you an answer right away, which is honestly probably, it would make my life easier. It would probably make me sound smarter. But to be honest, no, if we are going to try doing everyone justice, if I'm going to try to do the best I can, there's going to be a lot of variables that go into that, my man. Okay, so here I think we do something similar to what we did last time. I think that we either go between a guy like Dwayne Eskridge or we take a Josh Palmer here. This is something that I think we go Eskridge just because we want to mix it up a little bit. We went Palmer in the last draft. So let's just get Eskridge here. Most of the time you're seeing him go ahead of Josh Palmer. So if you're trying to account for ADP at the same time, maybe we could get Josh Palmer a little bit later on in other drafts and just load up in Eskridge where we can, because most of the time he's not going to be falling here. But nonetheless, let's see what happens in front of us. Okay, so Palmer goes in front of us, so we don't even get the option. Let's go with Dwayne Eskridge here at the 306. Looks like this draft we just went wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Okay, Aaron Law says, I traded James Robinson for Antonio Gibson before the draft. I think that worked out quite well. Man, quite well indeed. That is fantastic. Congrats, my man. Also, I see that we are about to crack 50 likes. Guys, if you have not dropped a like on the live stream, what are you doing? Go down there, drop a like. And if you are not subscribed to the channel for whatever reason, make sure you're subscribed. We are so close to 5,000 subscribers. I would love to get there by the end of the week. Hunter Long, Elijah Mitchell, Des Fitzpatrick, all going behind our selection of Dwayne Eskridge. Like I said, guys, this format here was not a tight end premium. That's why we changed the updated title at the very top. But nonetheless, I mean, Hunter Long, can't get too butthurt about him going at the end of the third in a 1-quarterback format, given the fact that he went in the 3rd round of the NFL draft at the tight end position. And it's not like the Miami Dolphins has showed a ton of commitment to Mike Gesicki. JN says, Rondale has fallen slightly post-draft. Yeah, I'm going to make that video where we go through and we compare the ADP that we had, and we look at the largest risers and also the furthest fallers, and we can try to identify maybe if there were any trends, maybe if there are reasons for this, or it's just a small sample thing. So it looks like we are most likely going to be winding down here, guys. I really appreciate everybody coming out to the live draft, and I really hope to see y'all with the video tomorrow. Tomorrow's video, I promise y'all, is going to be one of the best ones that we have in a while. It's going to be over Travis Etienne and why I really think that we should be trying to ignore the noise and we should be looking at what actually matters. So please make sure y'all go out, make sure y'all show some love on that Travis Etienne video, because I am very proud about that. And outside of that, I will be going through working on the Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide that should be available on Patreon in about a week, or at the very minimum by the end of the month. I'll probably be doing that for the next 7 hours, trying to figure out a format and edit it the way I like it. But yeah, outside of that, I appreciate